the psalmist, David. So when you understand that once you start, you see yourself sitting in the God seat in triple darkness in the middle of nowhere, and you recognize and observe that position, you sitting in the center of creation. That's the mindset. You sitting in the center of creation and you creating everything. Okay, now you need to simplify the totality of creation. You got to bring it into your 3D model of yourself. I'm God pretending to be Rod. How am I supposed to behave as God in this 3D realm? This is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to rewrite who the system told me to be. I'm not going to be Rod. I'm going to be Morpheus Mysticus Magus. Morpheus Mysticus Magus is a alchemical name that was adopted by the character Rod in order to break free from the character Rod and become the embodiment of the liberating mind that I want to be, so that I can help other people liberate their mind. So
All right, family. Welcome to another episode Friday night. This is gonna be a good one. We're gonna have a good time tonight. Want to welcome two of the guests tonight. We're still waiting on Professor Griff, but I gotta welcome back to the platform one of the great mass teachers, the brother that started the Gathering of the Masters, and I continued the tradition last year. But the brother who started all of this, Godfather of the conscious community, none other than Dr. Phil Valentine. Welcome, my brother. And also, we are bringing to the stage none other than the 44 God himself, Pope Pablo. He single-handedly took over where the Pope left off. Blue Pillar. Welcome, my brother. Welcome. Hey, I guess how's everything, Doc? I ain't seen you in a while, Doc. How's everything? How's the family?
Going well. Things are beginning to show a little bit more favoritism. Economically, I'm seeing some progress in the things that I started about 5 or 6 years ago. So we're waiting on that to start bearing fruit, and we're pretty much good. Just waiting around right now to see how everything works. But there's been some stoppage. There's people.
I think Doc froze.
So, we are doing our best to, circle before we land, and we're looking at everything from a specific height, and not becoming in it, but not of it, so to speak, right now. And we're watching how how all of the criminals are putting their stake in, and whether or not we're going to have to see where the outlets will be, where we're going to end up, pretty much in the next 3 to 5 years.
Indeed. Right. How's everything with you, Blue?
All is well. All is well, my brother.
Good to hear. Good to hear. I want to. I guess I want to start out on a metaphysical vibe about just things going on. When people observe what's going on, a lot of people are saying, "Damn, something's in the air. Something is different is in the air. People are behaving different. They're seeing what's going on in America. They're seeing what's going on in Africa. What's the brother's name? Blue in Africa that everybody's talking about. What's the name?
General
Ibrahim.
So people are seeing what's going on, and they're like, something is in the air. I want to ask, Doc, we often hear about programming on television, TV. We hear about the programming in the media, the newspaper. We hear about the chemtrails. I want to ask you, how much programming is infused in the air that we breathe cosmically? Is it something whereas when a certain cosmic, something cosmic got to play out down here, there's certain particles that enter our atmosphere to get people to behave a certain way. What's in the air that we breathe, Doc? Is there something different about the air we breathe in that is making people behave in a different manner?
I spoke about this in a lecture I did about 10 years ago called The Book of the Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And in the Book of the Earth, I spoke about the fact that the particles in the air are going to spin at a different angle then they were spinning based upon the awakening of a specific quality of consciousness necessary for us to transcend. So there is something in the air, you mean in the water that we breathe. Most, what Prince was talking about, something in the water they drink, but we are kind of not looking at something in the water we breathe. And that water that we're breathing right now is changing its quality. You call it the air, the atmosphere, whatever that is, but we are under a compressed hydrogen dome. And within that particular structure, we have a certain density of water that is isolated so that we could breathe. And our quality of water right now is changing, just like somebody would boil water or would change the molecular structure of the water, which then would change it so that it would have these beautiful, geometric shapes. The way that you take a word or a certain type of vibration and you see the particular vibration or the frequency crystallize. Well, what we're watching is that there's a certain harmonic coming off the dome right now that's creating these in the body, the liquid in our bodies. As we breathe, we are going through the harmonic interface with the dome's specific speeding. And a lot of people are not going to, they're going to be feeling a little ill over the next 3 to 4 years during the adjustment period. And so the waters in your body and the waters above, as well as the waters below, are changing the spin orientation of the particle so that third density is going to change its nature so that it begins to change the nature within the waters within you. And so, yes, everything you breathe at this particular time will have a particular quality that will either upset you if you're not doing the right thing, or it will then begin to lift and cause you to have certain lucid dreaming. You begin to see what looks like the future, but the future would be based specifically on the timeline that your thought process is occupying, because thought and time are the same. So when you understand where you place your thoughts, the timeline will then align with the spin orientation of these particles, and you'll be quite literally able to see the future.
Agreed.
Blue, did you want to add on to that? And by the way, welcome everybody. I want everybody to welcome the Professor Griff,
Hey,
living
hey,
himself.
salute.
Welcome, my brother. Welcome.
Good, good.
And
What's
it's good
going on?
information.
Hey, Dr. Valentine, how you feel, good bro?
I'm good, beloved. Last time I think we ran into your queen at the airport,
Yeah.
and we were just transiting from one space to another, and we wanted to give you, pass our love on to you, see how you were doing, and so forth.
Oh, I received it via my queen, so thank you very much. Really appreciate that, good bro. As
Yeah.
always.
Yes, good, thanks.
Yeah.
Yes, Rich, I wanted to add on real quick.
Yes.
The transit Pluto in Aquarius, it translates to transformation in the air, right? And that is a 20-year period that we're undergoing that will last until 2044. And that period of time promises for change, for abrupt change, sudden change, because Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, and Uranus is the planet of sudden change. But both of these aspects deal with the air elements. So the change is definitely in the air. Also, they're spraying in the air. So barium, aluminum, the air is heavier and the air has been terraformed. So even with the glyph of Aquarius, which is an air sign, they show you the man who's water bearing, right, or utilizing the vases of water, and that is to terraform the air. Because like Doc says, the air is the ocean. We are literally in the fishbowl, breathing, right, inhaling and exhaling and exchanging these light codes and these signals that exist in the water that we all share. The air is the water that we all share, and eventually it permeates and it spreads to everywhere. So we have to be very conscious and conscientious of the air that we're breathing, because ultimately that's what we become.
Indeed, indeed. You know, speaking of chemtrails, and Griff has talked about chemtrails a lot. Dr. Valentine has talked about chemtrails a lot. Luca has talked about chemtrails in the past. Is it something where, and people have posed this question before, is it something where, you know, if you go to New York City, everybody has seen a roach in New York City. Everybody has seen a rat in New York City.
Right.
The poison stops working on them. It stops working on the rats and it stops working on the roaches. And pretty soon you're like, what the hell are they eating this shit? They eating breakfast, dinner, and lunch. Is that similar to with the chemtrails? Are we now just like, does it now have no effect on us the way it did 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago? Because just like the rats, just like the roaches, we have grown immune to anything that they could possibly put in the air to harm them, chemtrail wise.
Well,
Right.
no, I'm sorry. Go on.
You got it, Griff.
If we are not sure, and I'm not saying we don't know, but if we're not sure of their desired outcome when it comes to this chemical and biological attacks on highly melanated people, then how would we know, Brother Rich, that already did what it's supposed to do? You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Simply because if we're talking about transforming ourselves into those godly beings that we know that we are, we have to leave behind any form of programming, poisoning, anything from this world. If we're going to truly become the essence of what the Creator created us to be, we got to leave all of that behind. So the whole idea of their desired outcome, what was their desired outcome in spraying us in the first place? What was their desired outcome with the fluoride? What was their desired outcome with putting all kind of chemical formulations in the food, not only processed food, but with what Bill Gates is talking about doing right now, putting the vaccines inside. I apologize, Brother Rich. We don't want the channel to get shut down, but putting that madness, putting those Skittles inside the damn food. So you get it automatically. You understand what I'm saying? So what was their desired outcome? So until we know what their desired outcome, then how are we going to combat it?
Well,
Excellent, brother.
right. Yeah, you're right. You're right on point with that, because remember, your mind is matter, and the so-called conscious community, global conscious community, is rising at a rapid pace, and the youth are now beginning to engender, not just listen to, but engender the teachings of the elders. So you're looking at Ibrahim Traore, and you're seeing him become the kind of spark, the adjutant that is now showing the youth what Malcolm showed to us from the old school, what our ancestors showed to us, what Yahya Muhammad showed to us. It's funny how he's the one that they're using, and I'm a little bit leery about everybody giving him this much press, because they don't put you out there like that unless they already have the countermeasures in place to take you to a certain point and then stop it. China is in there because over 400,000 people just disappeared out of China, and most people don't know that. Another 3.2 million people, Chinese, have just moved into Africa. They're giving them the technology to build the roads. And right now, if you're looking at it, you're seeing that the Chinese are actually marrying into the African peoples. And that becomes a little bit worrying to me at this time, because Africa has not yet united as one entity to begin to deal with that. It seems that we're still tribally focused based on the Berlin Conference. And I'm a little worried for Ibrahim Traore, because he's maybe used as noble as his quest. There's something else lurking, and you and I know this. We go back, all of us go back to the fact that everything ain't what it seems. But the young people are now motivated. And it's up to us. We are the survivors. And it's up to us to give them that spiritual guidance, that necessary, what we learned from what the enemy did to our leaders and our mentors. We have to teach them that all ain't what it seems. There's a controlled opposition going on here where they want to show bad guy and good guy. And when they do that, I know that that's theater.
Mm.
Because these bastards work, when they want things to change, they work in the shadows.
Yeah.
So yes, let's celebrate the young man because we have a spiritual awakening. But let us not forget how the enemy works. We see what's happening. We already put, Mr. Drumpf in place. That's his real name. DRUMPF. Go look it up. And we have to be very careful about what they give with one hand and what they're about to take over these next 3 to 4 years with the other. That's all I just want to bring that to light.
Mhm.
Indeed. A couple of topics that's going on in the news I want to bring up to y'all. And we always love when Phil did the black news. We always love when Griff give us a breakdown. We love when Blue Pill give us a breakdown. Phil, you've been talking about the Vatican for so long, Phil. Oh man, you done did so many tapes on the Vatican. I mean, I got VHS tapes with you talking about the Vatican. What's your thoughts, all of y'all, on the Pope passing away, and what's the next step? Is that prophetic? What's the next step in terms of what's going on with the world elites or parasitic elites, as Dr. Phil said?
Yeah, that particular thing you're talking about was the aristocracy of evil. That was a series.
Right.
Where we started talking and we outed the Vatican for everything that they were doing, the red shoes, the complicity in taking over religion, which was essentially nothing more than spirituality, and dealing with that. Took all of our ancient writings, what the good brother was speaking about when he spoke about David writing the Psalms. That wasn't David, that was Akhenaten. So we have to bring back an understanding of what it is that these people have. They're going to start exposing some of the things that's underground, because there's about something like 10 miles of stolen materials that they've been keeping from us. Now we see this, they're talking about the Tatarians, and who are the original people that were here long before these Europeans actually began to stand upright. So we got to see right now that the Vatican, giving you a mulatto pope, is trying to tell you what they're getting ready to do with Africa. They need legitimacy. They need to legitimately go into Africa, because the next stop for the Pope is going to be in Africa. You watch. Wow. Africa is going to be the center of everything coming over the next 10 years.
Does that have anything to do with the high imams and the Arabs trying to make Ibrahim Traore a deal by putting 200 mosques in Africa?
You see, the Abrahamic triad, which is the three-headed dog you've heard me speak about so many times. But they call it Judaism. It was never Judaism. It was EU, because that was the name of the god, was EU. And then it was Catholicism or Krishnaism. And then came Islamism, and this is something that most people are not ready for. Islam was created out of the Vatican. In fact, the first wife of Muhammad, which was actually a title and not a name, was actually a Catholic. And it was the I forgot the name of the order of the monks that actually in Christianity in the Vatican, it was the monks that actually told her, recruited her to be with Muhammad. And at that time, they began to incorporate all of what was Catholicism and Christianity into Islam to set up that countermeasure over there. They needed war, they needed battle. And so what happens, you have Jesus mentioned in the Quran at least 15 times, and Muhammad only once, maybe twice. And so you have to see what that was. They set up the Abrahamic triad, which again, Abraham is nothing more than a perversion of the name of Brahma, because Brahma was Judaism, Vishnu is Christianity, and Shiva is Islam. And you have to understand how they did all this in order to contain to contain spiritual development. They needed to religify it. They need to regulate it. And so they gave us these incredible stories that were actually lesson plans. These people didn't exist. Lesson plans. And so you have this murderous bastard over there in that place that they want to call Isis, Ra, and El. And they want to believe that they're the real persons looking for a homeland and all this nonsense. This is the Khazarian mob that is actually working against us. And I'm hoping I'm not going to say too much to cause any problems, but the truth got to come out there. I'm sorry. Go ahead, brothers. I don't want to knock you out.
Appreciate it, Doc. Appreciate it. Doc said, Doc said ISIS, Ra, and El. Y'all can put 2 and 2 together. Y'all can put
2 and 4 together.
Yeah. Indeed.
Yeah.
Wow.
So let me
add on to that if you go ahead.
Blue Pill and Dr. Valentine. The information that came out of the book, the Vatican Assassins.
Mm-hmm.
If we was to update that information, is any of that stuff relevant today with the ushering in of this kind of?
Yeah. I had to put him in his place, John Phelps, because he was the one talking about what he did to bring religion, to bring Christianity and Jesus Christ to the Indians here in this in our country, and I had to slap him down on one of the telecasts. I told him, you out your damn mind talking that nonsense. And so he stepped back. He didn't, when I started dropping jewels on him and giving him dates and names and the whole 9 yards, I didn't hear anything from him for the rest of that for that interview. But yeah, he came out with some good materials. He pointed us in the right directions for the information. And the one thing he gave to me was that the entire Illuminati was started by Rishi, Cardinal Rishi, and it was Cardinal Rishi in his jail cell that recruited the man who essentially started the Illuminati in Weissoff. Some people say Weissoff and George Washington are the same because they look the same.
Right, but Weissoff was also a Jesuit, so that ties him directly into that order.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but Weissoff was actually a Jew that converted.
Right. So I would ask you, Doc, we saw that Francis was a Jesuit. Now we see that Leo is an Augustine. Can you explain to the family what is Augustine? What is the connection also to St. Augustine? And what is St. Augustine, Florida's connection to melanated people, our strategic fight in that area, please?
Mm-hmm. The Augustine was the first pope, the original pope of Christendom. They were called the Christosites. They weren't called Christians.
Yes.
And these Christosites had a pope, and the pope was Augustine, who was a master scholar of the ancient mystery system. And he put together the materials. But as far as Constantine came along, because Constantine was nothing but a general, he was fighting for the throne of Rome with 3 other generals. And it was the Christosites that actually gave him the inroads to take the throne. And when he took the throne, then that's when he eliminated all of the different factions. Yes, that brought all of that together. And they even persecuted Nero and turned Nero into Nero was actually an intellectual. And the Christians were the ones who burnt Rome at that time. It wasn't Nero. Nero was actually the scapegoats of that. And the Christians were the first book burners because they had to destroy all of the evidence of where
Contrary
things.
evidence, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. What is when we see the presidency and we see the Vatican and people are trying to figure out who's the person that runs everything. What is Trump's connection with the Vatican and with this new pope? How does that tie in with what Trump is trying to do and what his plans appear to be?
Trump is 33rd degree Mason. He was a member of my former order, the Order of Solomon. He received his 33rd about 2 or 3 years ago. And Trump.
Damn, that recent? No, I said that recent. He received it. I thought
he got his 33rd after as his first. I think they gave him his honorary 33rd, I believe, after his first term. And but he's part of what is known as the Talmudic Shabbat Lubavitch cult. And most people don't know that. That's why Netanyahu is his puppet master. He may pretend. Don't believe what you're seeing about him saying, "Oh no, you can't do this," and I'm going to say to you that you have to do this, Israel. It's all flam and fluff.
Right. So this whole order of the Society of Jesus, I mean the Jesuit power structure,
military order.
Okay, yeah, that's where I was headed with that.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. We here. So if it's a military structure, then does it have anything to do with the 3 city states and then this being the military wing of these 3 city states and how America fits in? And since Donald Trump is the so-called president, he has to take marching orders from someone else. So that's a very profound question that Brother Richard asked. You understand what I'm saying? What is his tie-in to the thing? Because if London represents the religious aspect, if Washington, D.C. represents the military, and I think London, the city, represents the financial.
There's 3 different constitutions you're talking about. There are 3 different constitutions. There's a municipal constitution that is managed outside the District of Criminals, Washington, D.C.
Right. Okay, yeah.
That's the municipal constitution. Then there's the territorial constitution. The territorial constitution was run by Queen Elizabeth, but it's now being run by Charles the King. Then there's the de jure constitution, which belonged to us. We're the ones who created that. That's the one that's been put in abeyance. Okay? Now, the municipal constitution and the territorial constitutions, what you're looking at is Trump is a kind of he's what do you call those people? A raider, a corporate raider. Remember, the old corporation, United States Corporation, is now defunct. And what he's doing is he's managing and selling off the assets to the billionaires. The new United States Incorporated was reincorporated, guess where?
Where?
The City of London. And you notice that Trump now wanted the King of England to become a part of that corporation, to be the manager of that corporation. So he's selling off all of the assets, which is you.
Wow.
He is actually clearing and cleaning out all of the he doesn't need that had all you see all these different projects that they're talking about and Doge and all this nonsense. They're selling off the assets of the old United States Inc. And the new United States Inc. is consolidating now around the billionaires that you see coming up, and the new blockchain. All of this now is the consolidation. We are in for a serious crash. You notice they're closing down all the stores. They're buying up all kinds of land right now. Remember I said about 5 or 6 years ago, no, about 10 years ago, that they're going to rewild Detroit.
Said that.
Remember, they're going to use that as the cattle area. The reason why Trump is slick because he's been in touch with the Moors, and this entire landscape that you see called the West, which is North America, so to speak. North America was actually what they call Canada or Canaan, and what we call Amexem or Americua, land of the great winds. That's what the original name was. And so what you're looking at is Trump was talking about, well, why don't we just call Canada the next state? He knows exactly what time it is. These lines ain't had a damn thing to do with Canada or this or crap. He knows. He knows because the Moors have been keeping him up to speed. And that's why we're right now in a factional war against the Khazars versus you, the Moors, the original people, the original inhabitants of this land.
Is there something more? Trump put out the picture with him dressed like the Pope.
Yeah.
Was there something more to that, or was it just a joke? And Trump being Trump, was there?
What he's doing is telling you that he is got a divine right at this particular time to manage the assets of the new corporation.
Yeah, because I think we have to keep in mind there is a difference between the black Pope versus the white Pope. So if he's dressing up as the white Pope, no pun intended. But the black Pope is the one wielding the power. Then what is he actually truly saying to us by dressing up in it?
Oh, well, actually, let me take you one further deeper in my sources. There's a white Pope, black Pope, but there's a gray Pope.
Yeah.
The gray Pope was from the Orsini line of the 12 families. And he's the one managing the white and the black Pope.
The gray Pope, wow.
The gray Pope is the one really managing the affairs of Western civilization, as well as what they did to give China a boost. You see, so what we are ready to do at this particular time is we have to grow in our understanding, and you got to love that brother Calloway, who's been actually keeping the knowledge of who we are as the original indigenous peoples or the autochthonous peoples. Those people, the Mongols who came over the land bridge, who's assuming to be the so-called Native American. They are the Native Americans. Those are the first immigrants over here. They came down through the land bridge over the Bering Straits, down through Canaan or Canada, and into this portion of the United States, or what we call Amexem or Maricua. And I have the quote from China's military head, the head of the military of China, boasted that we sent over our people to America back in those days, boasting that we were the ones that came over here and became the Native Americans. He said that. So the Mongols that you see that look like they're from China or Mongolia, nah, they ain't the Native Americans. That dances with wolves is bullshit.
Right. Is there anything since we're talking about Trump, last Trump question, is there anything that we should know about Trump bringing the white South Africans over here?
Oh, yeah. The whites are definitely diminishing in their population. They're dying out. It's not their time. Remember, there was the Nubian, I don't know if you ever were acquainted back about 25, 30 years ago, I spoke to a Babalawo, and there was something called the Nubian Chronicles. And it stated that any consciousness construct in a human being that participated in genocide, that particular consciousness line will eventually die out. That's why the Japanese are dying out. They can't bring babies to save their lives today. And so does the whites. Trump is desperate to keep white people coming in here. So you're going to bring in more and more white people under that persecution bullshit that they're talking about. And all of that is lies. But that's all right. We don't need them. They need to stay out. Matter of fact, he's going to ship them all, and they're going to go to Europe as well, because ain't nobody going to want them here. Not even the white folks here are going to want them.
Yeah, the white folks were kind of up in arms about that. And when I first saw it, I don't want to go down this path, but let me just mention it. It reminded me, I'm sure Pill, you and Doc already know, and Brother Rich, you already know as well about the transfer agreement with Edwin Black. That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah.
Transfer white South Africans who actually gave us the blueprint on oppression. Oppressing Black people.
Yeah.
So take that and bring that information here because, as Doc said earlier, this whole thing is about the change.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's about the change, then what plan are they using? Where's the blueprint to the plan? So let's just bring some of these individuals. Now listen, we didn't do no deep research on who these individuals are.
Right.
They look like regular old white folks to us.
Mm-hmm.
How do we know who they're bringing over? Just like in the transfer agreement. How do we know who these individuals are?
That's right. Well
So
said.
Architects of apartheid. That information was passed down because, as we all know, everyone on here know, and everyone that's listening know, that they constitute 7% of the population there, but they control 70-some-odd% of the wealth in South Africa. So take those riches, take that ingenuity, take that science, take that blueprint under the guise of there being refugees, transfer them here, and all of that knowledge to set this thing off. That's the blueprint.
Doc, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Boers from South Africa, they originally come from Germanic stock, correct?
Yeah, well, they are from the white Germanic stock because the original for Germanic stock were really
right. I mean, the white Germanic stock that stands on genetics and genealogy as being pure. It's the same energy that you might see over here, that Nordic energy that goes into the neo-Nazism of the purity. So with Trump and them, they deal with this, again, it's an ideology, an underlying ideology called Ordo Amoris, meaning order of love. They're saying that they only have the propensity to love that which is nearest and dearest to them, first and foremost. So just as they say America first, they're saying German first as well. They see affinity in them, like Trump can see affinity in Elon through their Germanic connections, and Elon can openly praise his Germanic roots as well, right? Germanic by way of the connection through his South African side, because that's just Germany in disguise. Right, with a Nazi permeated foot still on melanated people in the southern part of Africa, the same way that they came and did it in the southern part of America, in Brazil, in Argentina. They're bold enough to tell you that they airlifted them people with Operation Paperclip and let that dude die, live the rest of his days out. So the chess game would be, if we was interested in a victory or even a disturbance, we would say the same way that you have Project Esther, right? Because Project 2025 is the blind. Nobody talks about Project Esther, where they're making it a federal crime, punishable by $1 million fine, to do what they call to be anti, Semite, right? You can't even say nothing about them folks. But why don't they designate the Klan as a terrorist organization if that's the case?
That's their foot soldiers.
Right. But these are the rare opportunities that we have to ask these questions, to be like, why the emphasis over here and not over there? How can you say that people who participated in apartheid are good human beings? You know what I'm saying? And then you bring them over here, but you never had any qualms about anyone connected Germanically to the descendants of quote unquote Nazi regimes.
But you also have to remember that Project Esther is a connection to the introduction of the Noahide Laws that they incorporated into the jurisprudence and the statutes of the United States of America.
Yes.
If you know anything about the Noahide Laws, the Noahide Laws states that they are instituted by Jewish-run countries or Jewish-run states in order to rule over non-Jews. So why would you incorporate that into our United States jurisprudence? Unless you are owning or running everything having to do with the United States.
Right. You're running the show from the back.
Indeed. And so what are some of the punishments for breaking the Noahide laws? Well, the ultimate punishment for breaking the Noahide laws is decapitation. Now, if you go back to 1996, why is it that they incorporated into Fort, I think it was, which one was it?
Yeah.
Fort, I forgot.
One
One
of
of the forts down there in the South, 1,000 guillotines. 1,000 guillotines were brought in here. And along with that, they gave a questionnaire to the top brass of the soldiers of the United States and asked them, could they take orders from a foreign authority? And during that time, they said, no, 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 no. Said, okay, we got to deal with a different strategy. But now they have it now. They have the people. You see this Negro that we have over here that's running the military is talking about using the same old COINTELPRO BS on Traore about him using the gold to protect himself and to enrich himself. Come on, I mean, we could smell that from a mile away, And of course, they got to put one of us up there to make sure that we're the ones that become the scapegoats for that. And like I said, we have to get ready because they are going to go to war with Iran. If they already started bombing Iran. And this guy, Hegseth, who is the head of the military right now, he just shipped over something like, 500 or 600 warheads to the Ukraine. What? And we supposed to be, and wasn't he talking about, your boy Trump was talking about, you get me into the presidency and I'm going to stop this war in 24 hours.
Right.
That's what he told him.
That's a lie. You do this and I'll get the prices of your gas down to one so and so. Gas prices, anybody been looking at the gas prices lately? No. When you got to find out who Trump really is and who his father really was, and why it is that the ISIS, Ra, and Saturn, Saturn was essentially L. So if you understand that, you understand why it is that you saw him putting the seat under Netanyahu when he was sitting down, like Netanyahu was, his boss, in other words. So we're going to get ready to send our children over to the Middle East right now to war, and that the greater ISIS Ra El that encompasses most of Saudi Arabia, parts of Egypt, and parts of Iraq and Lebanon, all the places where you see they're bombing and going crazy. This is the expansion for the greater you-know-what. And now we done found out because the Iranian general, the head of their military, came out and outed the entire Saud family and found out that they're not who you think they are. They're not connected directly to Arabs. They are essentially of Ashkenazi stock.
I want to
You told us that years ago.
Now you know why. Now you know why they don't. They ain't coming in to mess with nobody when it comes to that little spot right there where they found out 10 trillion pounds of natural gas. That place they call Gaza. Yeah. Now we know.
Yeah, because the people that are on that land, they're being sacrificed.
Yeah. Yeah. And there was supposed to be, right next to there is the Suez Canal, right? There was a plan to build from the Red Sea all the way to the Mediterranean, going right through the Gaza Strip, a Ben Gurion Canal that was supposed to be the rival to the Suez.
Wow.
I wanna get some advice from y'all for the younger brothers out there. When we talk about the power players of the world, and I think about every story I hear about us being in power, there's one common theme that I always see connected to our fall. And as I watch distractions such as P. Diddy, still a learning lesson within it. You can look at Shannon Sharp, still a learning lesson within it.
Mhm.
And it seems as though whether you're talking about the Moors, we mentioned the Moors earlier, whether you're talking about Dr. Martin Luther King, our leaders, the black brothers that lead, always seem to fall concerning sex, sexual allegations. It always involves something dealing with sex. It has it always been like this. I mean, like, goddamn, from 22, it's 2025. We've been talking about this shit since the Moors. I mean, goddamn, man, this is a real problem for brothers.
Why do you think that all of the greatest civilizations that ever existed always used the female as the strike point for when it begins to fall?
Mm.
You have Kali, Sekhmet. You have Inanna, you have Hell, you have all of these different names when death and destruction and everything. It's the female, but that's not to say that they were going to use her as that, because she is nothing more than the precipitant to that fall. We essentially allow it to happen. It's because we get so feminized, as you see today, what's happening, the feminization of the West and the United States and all over the world right now is have you ever looked at any of the quick points that you have on your social media, and every time that you look up to see who the judge is, you ever notice who the judge is in all those cases?
Women.
Women.
Damn.
Nothing but women now. If you look at all of the TV shows and everything, and you sisters, don't get your jaws all tight. You know what I'm talking about. You understand what I'm saying? They know that when you essentially turn the operation of a state over to a mindset that deals in emotion first before thinking, then you're going to have that type of mentality that you first of all, you destroy the family and you put her in charge. And then now who is it that the young man is actually typing in his mind? Who is he actually bonding with? He's bonding with one who has certain emotions, who hates men because of her single family situation. When you're talking about putting it in the hands of the female, look at what they did to structure the court system so that 80% of the people filing for divorce are women. When you start seeing that happen,
Doc, I don't mean to cut you off, but the white man ain't take daddy out the home of the Moors. This is a problem. That's a problem in current society, but
no.
Even if we go back to the Moors, the white man ain't take the daddy at the
no. But if your woman, if your woman was taken, see, you're not looking at the stratagem. The way to destroy it is the way the Romans did it. When they conquered someone, they took the males and sent them someplace else, and they elevated the woman to be in charge.
Okay.
That's a stratagem. When you put the female at the head, which she is not the head, she is the one who supports. She doesn't lead. And when you destroy the leader, because remember, the Jesuits incorporated a book on warlike stratagem because they are a military organization. They incorporated Sun Tzu's Art of War as part of what they teach to their Jesuits. So when you know that the superior, when you're dealing with a superior fighting force, you can't attack them straight on. You have to use subterfuge. You have to use seduction. You have to weaponize seduction and subterfuge, manipulation. And the one to do that is who?
Woman.
That's right. And I'm not saying this to castigate our women. We lost because we allowed our women. We didn't actually pick up arms when they were shipping all of our work that kept us being the head of the family. They were shipping it over there to the poor people to do it for pennies on a dollar. They destroyed all the towns that was the competition, and they put it underwater. Put all of our towns that was giving us all the banks, had our schools. They destroyed that, and we did not give them hell.
Mm.
So we allowed this creature to come in. And what is the Mossad's? What is the Mossad's? What is their tagline?
I don't know.
I know.
You said the what?
By deception shall we do war.
Okay.
By deception shall we do war. It's written right across their logo. And so we've been deceived. All of us, the men, the Moors, have been deceived. And look at this. We couldn't even get together back at the time when it was 2004, and it was the year of the indigenous man. Every Moor at that time wanted to be the head chief at that time, so none of them got together. The entire land of North America went fee simple on 2004, and the Tower of Babel, the United Nations announced it, the year of the indigenous man, and we did nothing. We were squabbling amongst ourselves. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, inside of what Myron Fagan talked about, we talked about the Illuminati. He outlined the sextortion is called now, but it's sex bribery. And it says the method of control. He said Myron Fagan alleged it says that to use attractive young male and female agents that are trained to entrap politicians, businessmen, and other influential figures in compromising sexual positions.
And have them filmed.
Exactly. Where do you think P. Diddy got it from? So that's all we're seeing. The blueprint.
Yep.
Blueprint and put it in play among us because he kind of think we're blind, deaf, and dumb.
But P. Diddy, P. Diddy is going to be the distraction. That's to keep our eyes off of Epstein and the rest of the scum that Trump and the rest of them. Have you seen anything yet from Trump talking about he's going to release the Kennedy assassination files? You seen anything yet about that? Because all of his people are involved.
Well,
Maya Lansky,
they did a light release.
Didn't get
whatever he claims to be pushing out.
Doc said, nah.
That's confetti. All of that is confetti.
You got a bunch of notes that was redacted, and that kind of stuff.
Let me tell you something. You know who actually? Who's the brother? Who's the dude who did "Behold a Pale Horse"?
William Cooper.
Right. I spoke to William Cooper when I first revealed down at one of the Gathering of the Masters who really shot Kennedy. He had the Zapruder film, and the Zapruder film was actually upgraded by the Japanese, who were actually working on digitalizing and bringing out the crystallization of old movies. And you saw it. He did it in stages, and he showed you that the car slowed after the first shot. And what's her name was holding on to Kennedy.
Right.
The car slowed down. The driver reached under the seat, went over the top, and bang! You saw the side of the head go off. That's when she jumped out the back, thinking she was next.
Exactly.
But they kept playing that nonsense. No, that was something. And then you got your boy Jack Ruby, real name Jack Rubenstein,
right?
Who worked for who? Maya Lansky.
Right.
Maya Lansky was in touch with and dealing with what's his name? The first prime minister of Israel. What was his name? Kennedy would not give him the missiles.
Was it Ben Gurion?
Ben Gurion. He would not give them the support. And they connected up. And now that's why you see Trump ain't going to give you the real deal. The real deal already came out. It's out there. The people who were inside have been telling us what it is that really happened around that, but you ain't going to get it from official. You're not going to get Epstein's list. You're not going to get all of these nonsense promises was to keep the white folks at bay. Black people don't care. Now you're talking about, what was that last thing they said? They're going to remove the segregation. They're going to get rid of the civil rights. What we black people doing? Yeah. We partying, man. Yeah. Let's get some segregation going. You know, everything that Malcolm was, and was talking about. We're coming back to that, and we celebrate. You know, every time, that was the danger. That's why they made sure that they recruited Michael King.
Right.
They brought him out in order for him to act as the interface between the white and the blacks, in order to get the blacks to believe that they needed to integrate. They didn't. Our separation and our segregation showed that we were superior in everything that we did. And that was a threat to those who were in charge of commerce in the United States.
Right. Yeah. Speaking of Kennedy, what do you think is going to happen with who's the Kennedy that's in now? The Department of
RFK.
Yeah, RFK.
Yeah, he's going to give you a little bit, but
can I say that? Right?
He's Zionist as well. Yeah.
Even with the chemtrails, it was told to me that Florida, the state of Florida, is going to be the first staging site, because he put together a research committee to look into chemtrails, and Ron DeSantis is going to be the first governor to jump on board and say that they're going to do the banning of the chemtrails. So they are going to push it into that national spotlight, and he seems to be willing to take certain arrows. And we got to understand that there's a thin line between MAGA and woke. And MAGA is woke right. So there's a contingency that makes up the larger body of these particular organizations that delve in the same research we delve in. So these are some people that we might have got information from about fluoride in the water, chemtrails or what have you, but then they got a slight Republican slant, and you know, they might like niggas online but not living next to them, you know what I'm saying? And so they have political affiliations and they slant particular ways, but they make up these political bodies, and they also bring in their interest points, and these people run plays for them. You know what I'm saying? So we just watching and seeing that. So we'll see certain things potentially come out of that with him, but I think that he's a scapegoat for them to say, at least we tried. And as a result, Big Pharma is going to come in and double down and be like, we'll never try this again.
Yeah, you're right. That's a distraction. They're going to find another way to poison us.
Right.
That's all.
We was just talking about, you know, it's interesting. Somebody just texted me this. We was just talking about, you know, the chemtrail, and Blue just mentioned that there's a huge dust storm in Chicago right now. So I hope everybody in Chicago's all right. But they say it's zero visibility right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's going to be the new vector.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's going to be the new vector. You're going to see that the so-called nanoparticles are going to be in these dust storms.
Yes. It's been detected and picked up already.
Yeah.
So instead of them spraying, you know, all of the stuff via chemtrail, they have a smart dust cloud that's moving, you know, continentally, and it makes deposits. And again, these things are terraforming nature wherever they go. You know, when we look at nanoparticles and we understand the lattice, if we can use our visualization and we see that there's an overgrid over our reality and our over lattice, and that lattice is being interfaced with an entirely different interfacing system that is terraforming this biosphere into a technosphere to make it electrified for a silicon-based reality, and not something that's carbon-based. So they're changing and terraforming this entire ecosystem to benefit a whole nother type of species.
Yeah, you're right. And the thing is, however, the nanoparticles are vulnerable to the homeopathic nicotine. So we found that people with the nicotine patches, have been working very well to eliminate and to normalize, even in cases of autism. and even in cases of Alzheimer's.
Now that goes back, once again to the medicinal medicine of this land in particular. When we
Yeah,
speak about tobacco, when
tobacco.
we speak about hemp, and
Yeah,
we point out during C19 that tobacco was said to, help people. Later on, they found out that CBA and CBN,
yeah,
the cannabinoid family, was able to stop it. So these are these miracle plants that, in this land. And we only know about the bad aspect of these crops because we get traumatized by the past, but we really got to understand, what this land and what these crops is here for. We have to have an intimate relationship with this land. If the conscious community has now become the Bureau of Indian Affairs,
mm,
the only thing people want to talk about is they are indigenous and indigenous to the land. I'm like, grow something. Hey, you native to the land. What food is native to the land? Become that dude that makes purple potatoes, man. Like
yeah.
brand that. Like let's
And it
put our
right.
name on some of this and really stand on business and stop beating our chests.
And if that's the case, and if we do, and we are supposed to be the stewards of the land,
Yeah.
and how
Yeah.
come we can't grow something and trade with our brothers like Ibrahim Traore? Because
Right.
we need some of that coming out of that part of the earth also in order to heal.
The purified materials.
Exactly. Yes,
Yeah,
indeed.
Right.
yeah,
He's showing you that it's all about minerals, right? It's
yeah.
about
The land. Yeah,
currency. He's mineral rich with the land.
Right.
The people are a personification of the land. So those people over there are strappingly, genetically strong or what have you, because their soil is still mineral rich and the food thus far has high mineral content. Ours does not. You know what I'm saying? We need to remediate our soil here in the South, and we need to, get on our assault, get on our Jolly Green Giant vegetable man, step up as the Westernest Westerner, and really fulfill prophecy. Right? The board has been laid out. The game is in front of us, and the field is wide open. It's time to play ball.
you're
The
right.
calling is being made. Assault, can you please stand up? Restore your 14 pieces and step to it. Like Brother
Yeah,
Rich pointed out, and we're gonna put it on the record that the great divine speaks through signs. And I ain't one of them types. Like I see, as I've been mandated to, we have to see the spark of light of quote unquote God in all things and all ones. So even somebody as a Tory Lanez representing a motif, his father, Sunstar, said that he named his son Daystar, a Leo, Daystar because of Second Peter's. He gets in an incident, him being a Leo, with a woman called Meg the Stallion, who was an Aquarius. That name within itself says Aquarius because it's a name that denotes gender confusion, which is an Aquarian trait. She gets shot in the foot, which represents Pisces, but she represents Aquarius, or where they want to push things at specifically how you template women to think. She's one of the main one who controls the minds of women, moving and ushering into this new phase. She tells them to have a hot girl summer.
yeah,
He represents the sun. When he gets locked up on the West Coast, they have a polar vortex on the West Coast because he represents the sun, even though he's from the North, right? So what happens after they bring in Leo 14 as the new father, or Patar or Peter as the Pope? What happens to Tory Lanez in the underbelly or the undercurrent of the West Coast, or what you call the underworld, purgatory, prison? He gets stabbed 14 times. Leo 14, Tory Lanez or Daystar gets stabbed 14 times, him being a Leo, representing that sun star or that sun motif. His connection with his father is obvious. His father's a spokesperson. His father's name is Sunstar. So it's like, can we even appreciate what we're looking at here? Because the motifs be very clear sometimes, and we just confuse it and convolute it with our personal feelings about what we think we know about these people. We don't know a goddamn thing, but the universe is showing you, right? That if you could be God, why they can't be God? Why cannot they show these expressions of this narrative, this repetitive, that speaks through people and things?
Mm. The little things, the great change. That's a great assessment there, brother. But we have to change it around in the home first, and get balance back in the home. I mean, we become so feminized today that if you were to do a poll, I think they did a poll, a Gallup poll and a PEW poll, and it found out that 58% of men in the home are doing the laundry when only 13% of women are doing it now. And when they're cleaning the house, you're talking about 51% versus 9% women doing it. To take care of the children daily, it's 50% men and 7% women. And when you want to deal with grocery shopping, it's 45% men that do the shopping and 18% women. Talking about washing dishes is 42% men and 19% women today. And this was done over, I think, something like 7,000 to 8,000 people that they were actually about. So we got to get hold of the control of our family first, because we have turned the men into women, and we're doing women's chores today. That's why we dropped out of college, because the colleges today are only teaching feminized nonsense. And then when the women, after I got a PhD, their head all swelled up about their PhD. Now they don't want to deal with the regular brother. They are chasing the 1% and 2% who don't want them, who only want them for one thing. And then by the time they're 20, 35, they're over there lonely. And they talked about the last poll they had by 2030. Was something like 56% of all of women between the ages of 19 and 25 ain't going to be childless and not married. This is a plan. This is a structured tactic to destroy the infrastructural strength of a society. And we have made we brothers can take the blame for not going and giving our blood and just going ahead and dying in the streets and picking up our weapons instead of shooting each other over the different colors that we're wearing. We are point at the people and take vengeance for that brother who ran that cop. I know I'm talking. Don't talk about that. Kill his son.
That's right.
Yeah. So an eye for an eye. Ain't that what it is they talk about in the Bible?
Ain't it?
Ain't it? They talk about a
Hammurabi.
Christian country. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm saying,
yeah, Christian country. Shit.
Yeah, we fell short. But our sisters today are because they're being told that they can get better education. Now they have the greatest amount of debt. 80% of all the debt in our society as blacks are held by our women. The men are not taking on that nonsense of having to go and get into debt to get a piece of paper, which they call what they used to call that again, the sheepskin. Back in my day, your diploma, when you got your first bachelor's, was called a sheepskin. Well, you were honorary sheep. You got really deducated. That's what I call it. It's the deducation system. So the brothers are opted out. They're going into trades. They're going into dealing with the manipulation of the markets. And because we don't have a big, no. We got our sisters have to wake up now. They got to know that they've been played by Gloria Steinem, ex-CIA agent.
Right.
Okay? They got to know that they're played and they got to wake up. And it's the older women who are pissed off at men that are actually training the younger women. They need to stop that. And then we can actually come back and face, because it's the men that create the families. That's why the court system makes it so hard for us. The men are the ones who create families. Women don't create families. They structure them. They manage the family, but they don't create it. And those who are tactically attacking the family know that you have to undermine the priority, the prime authority, which is the man. And that's what they've done. You can argue feminized and all that. You could be pissed with me. You could be pissed with me all you want. But for the last 25 years, when I wrote that book, The Wounded Womb, I've been telling you where we were headed, and here we are.
I was about to say, you already told us where
we are.
Right.
And the women back then were pissed off with me for saying the truth, because their heads were so filled up with Oprahism. They didn't know what the hell they were talking about at that particular time. But I hate having to say, we told you so. I did not want that to be. I was hoping to put out there, send up a flare, shoot up a flare, say something. You know, I was so happy. Professor and I, when we did Black Black Dot's wedding. Remember when we did Black Dot's wedding?
Yeah, I remember. Yes.
Oh man, I was so happy.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
That he was this was a representation of what we were supposed to be doing, coming together. And what I think like about you, Brother Rich, is the fact that you're holding it down. You're holding it down, and you're raising a king, because only a king can raise another king.
Yes.
Indeed.
The princess and the queen. The only thing you're going to turn that boy into is a queen.
Mm.
When you try to raise a boy with a queen, you ain't going to turn him into nothing but a queen. Because if you look at all these big-ass football players and basketball players, oh, mama, my mama, my mama. But what they doing? They're Diddy parties.
You know, but I'm going to tell you, Doc, you know what's interesting? And I talk about this all the time. Like, I owe every ounce of everything I've become to my mother. And I grew up without a dad. It's weird because I grew up without it. This is a weird dynamic. It's something that's interesting. I grew up without a father. Never. All right. So I grew up without a father. He passed away. He died the 9th month I was in my mother's stomach. So he when he was coming into this realm, I was leaving this realm. And I wasn't exposed to like older men in my life, uncles, and like they was never around. So I just pretty much grew up under my mother and my grandmother. And one thing my mother did was she always, and I say this all the time, she always played the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in my house.
There you go.
And that was a huge influence on me coming up. But what I noticed that, Doc, what's interesting is that some of my friends, because a lot of them didn't have fathers either, but my friends that I didn't know that had fathers, by the time we got as an adult, I was more responsible. I showed more leadership skills. I showed more masculinity traits. I showed more responsibility, more self-discipline than the brothers that grew up with dads.
But look who you had as an imprint. Look who you were imprinting.
Yeah.
You had the epitome of what masculinity was about.
Yeah, man.
You couldn't get a better teacher. And then your mother reinforced that as she was supposed to. My father was not there in my own right. My father wasn't there either. He was in the house and he was the disciplinarian, and he taught me, said certain things, taught me to fight, taught me what to say, taught me how to make a bed so I could bounce a quarter off of it because he was special forces in the military. Yeah. Had my ass up against the wall thinking that I could challenge him. Yeah, but he was never really there. Same thing with my grandfather. But like I said, you need that father in the home who was raised in the same rubric.
Right.
Because what's his name was not the same. Look at what happened with Malcolm when he got and saw his people died right in front of his eyes.
Right. Good point.
You know, it doesn't matter. Your mother did what was right. She didn't want to assume the role of the man. And she never, ever actually put down a man in front of her son, the way most of these young girls today are doing when they have sons, because the face of the father pisses her off. Wow. When she looks into the eyes and the face of her son. So yeah, I'm going to stick to that. The way we are actually it. Kudos to your mother. She is like an outlier.
Indeed.
To tell you the truth.
Indeed.
And I don't cast any aspersions on any mothers who are out there really working hard to do the right thing, who want to, if they don't have the father there, they're looking for an influence to actually have their son so that he imprints authority instead of subservience. Because that's what we got. We got a lot of simps out there right now. Why do you think OnlyFans is so big today? Because we've been raising simps. Sorry, go ahead, y'all. Don't let me take over everything.
Yeah,
I don't want everybody mad at me.
Indeed. Shout out to everybody in the chat. I seen King Simon was in the chat earlier, sharing Doc's information, PayPal information and everything. Y'all could click on the links that's in the chat. Shout out to King Simon. I don't see him in here now, but I know he was in here earlier sharing the link. I'm gonna continue to post a link so y'all could get at Dr. Phil Valentine.
Yeah, my classes are going to begin on the 7th for the initiate level on metaphysical psychology. It's going to be on the 7th of June, and Metapsych 2 is going to be on the 14th of June. So if y'all are interested, we do have the site there. It should be up and for you to do registration. And a lot of the other things we have as far as services, you could also work with that. And I'm not sure if they're in the posting. Then thank you very much, Brother Rich.
Indeed. I want to get some questions from the family in the chat. I know y'all been asking questions earlier. I didn't save any of the questions, but give me some questions for Blue Pill, Dr. Valentine, and Professor Griff. We just kicking and talking about some current events. So give me some questions in the chat. I think I seen one earlier. Well, shout out to everybody who sent the super chat. Send an infinite goddess. Shout out to you, Shockwave Truth. All right, Shockwave Truth and Jay Spice. Appreciate the super chat from all of y'all.
Nice.
Let's see. Let me get to a couple of questions. Let me see what's going on. Oh, yeah, I see King Simon right there. Shout out to King Simon. I see you, King. Shout out to King Simon in the chat.
My man, King Simon.
That one where it says the bottom one there, UKS, that's me. The other one, Blue Pill, is that's not Blue Pill.
Right, you gotta switch it around. And
right.
then he put Blue Pill on mine.
He put yours, right. Mine is at the bottom, y'all.
Indeed. Shout out to everybody with the who's showing support. Let's see what's going on. Oh, this I just heard about this today. How much are y'all loving the plantation burning down? Can somebody tell the family who may not know what's going on with that, y'all? What's happening?
I just asked them. I said, "Who got the marshmallows?" Because we should have been out there. Everybody should have been. We should have marched around there with marshmallows to really show exactly what we really think of that. Good riddance, actually.
Yeah, they said it started in one part of the house, and then they actually put it out, and then a wind came by.
You know what I think? And I'm going to tell you why it started in the house, because I believe there was some kind of rituals that were going on in there. Yeah. And that was one of the hubs for the child sex trafficking. And because now Diddy is up and running and they're going to be doing a lot more investigating, I believe that a lot of more fires are going to start happening. And you're going to see a lot more places where they hub, where they actually gather together and go up and smoke. Watch.
Indeed.
Yeah, and they're gonna be hitting them with the DEWs too, the directed energy weapons. Be looking out for that. And I say to you, if you got a house, paint the roof blue.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that aspect of blue, because I want to point out that ever since that disturbance with sinners dealing with that Mississippi Delta area, that Haint blue energy has been popping up in a lot of places. So even when we see this particular plantation in Louisiana, the biggest of its kind, you know what I'm saying? That Candyland plantation being up in fire symbolically, again, on the cusp of this Scorpion moon, meaning the ending of things and the ending of eras and epochs, this Pluto and Aquarius energy, we're seeing spiritual revolution. We're seeing the signs that if the people's minds are not yet made up about what may be going on, in quiets and the private, the plotting and the scheming, the nature is pushing back, animals are pushing back, you know what I'm saying? Everything else is pushing back. They liberating and revolutionizing everywhere else around the planet, while we have the freedom to make our minds up while, we entertain distractions and everything else. But the signs are all around us.
Yeah.
That things are really changing. Yeah. And there's a spiritual war going on.
I would listen out for any explosions underground and any places under that particular plantation. I would be looking out for tunnels and seeing whether or not there'll be explosions or fires or whatever you might be hearing. Listen out if anybody's in that area and you be hearing loud noises, maybe in the middle of the night, they're destroying all the evidence. Think about that.
Wow.
Something like that would never go up like that. That's a landmark. You don't burn down landmarks.
Wow. Let's get to this next. Okay. Why now are they trying to do away with fluoride in the water?
Who said they're doing away with it?
Who said right?
If you got $1 billion invested every single year in numbing the people's brain, why would you get rid of that? You just tell them we're getting rid of it, and you take that same science and that same fluoride and put it in a goddamn Snickers candy bar.
There it is.
Or some Doritos.
Right.
Or
They'll put it in someplace else. They'll just take the fluoride out of the water now that he's putting it over there. And like I said, you got Kennedy is saying, look over here, everybody. Look at what we're doing. Right. And we're going to sprinkle it over here where they have the Cheetos and even in your Mickey D burgers.
Right.
You're going to see all of that because the fluoride could be put in the bread. You wouldn't know it.
Right.
All right. Let's get to the next question. How do you see the new earth?
The new earth is actually returning to the old earth. That was the rituals you see all around the world of them digging up our legacy. The new world is coming back to Africa, and we're going to start doing excavations here on these territories too. There's going to be monumental finds up in where they call Africa. I mean, not Africa, Canada. Canada is going to reveal a hell of a lot of cities underground and giants and specific types of animals that have gone extinct. And it looks like what's the place that the Smithsonian is going to be hiring young archaeologists to go into the Grand Canyon, and they're going to be excavating the place where they talk about the Great Pyramid there. They found underneath there whole tunnels leading underground they were digging tunnels. They got a network of tunnels under the United States already, and they ran into a whole other set of tunnels that have a whole lot of information and old artifacts from our people. And they're going to keep that secret for a while before they let everybody know, look at what we discovered. And again, the Vatican has enormous amounts of writings, especially from the Ethiopic, the Ethiopic journals. And don't believe about this Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the Covenant is the rainbow that appears over the pineal when you raise pineal. Pineal gland begins to turn and rotate when it is activated. And as it's activated inside of the cave of Brahma, which is the place that is inside, that's called substantia nigra, or the lots of black, in other words, substantia nigra. As the Kundalini is raised, it sprays a phosphine mist inside of the cave. And as it sprays the phosphine mist inside the cave of Brahma, what happens is the light from that's given off by the phosphine begins to create a rainbow. That's why you see in the rainbow in the so-called LGBTQ community, the rainbow is going to take a lot of precedent, because that's what happens inside the substantia nigra when the pineal is raised. They're just trying to co-opt that. It's the same as the rainbow without. It's the rainbow within. That's the ark of the covenant. The covenant that promised that once it's raised, you can now dial up a direct area code to God.
Wow.
Okay. King Simon wants to know, and it's interesting. I got a trip, Dr. Valentine. We're going out to Stone Mountain. We're doing a hike. We're doing some exercising. We're going up Stone Mountain.
Take your gun.
June 28th. Take the gun.
Take your gun.
I hear you, man.
Because they're still doing rituals up there, man. The clan and the rest of them.
Yeah.
Take your gun.
Doc, we have been up there 5 times already, and I'm not saying what you're saying isn't true, but this is the reason that we go up there to disseminate any fear that regardless of what they do, when we go, we good, we clear.
Yeah.
We've demonstrated on numerous occasions.
But you got to remember who they're bringing in. You got to remember who they're going to be salting into your community, coming out of South Africa. You yourself said it. You got to see who it is that they are getting desperate. White is going to be very desperate lately. You watch.
Absolutely.
You watch. They're going to be desperate. And Stone Mountain was the place where you see them carve that General Lee and all of that stuff that they put in there. This was sacred to them. So here we are encroaching upon that sacred.
That's why we stand. Exactly.
Yeah. Hey, listen. I say go up there. Do what you got to do.
Blue, like, please don't get people away.
We're going. Yeah.
People away, Doc.
We're going. We're going, and we're going back.
I love it. I love it. You all keep going. Definitely.
And it's Crystal Mountain when we go. It's not Stone Mountain again. You know how we reclamate and we reclaim the very place that they utilize as a battery by doing what it is that we do, and that's how we destroy, dissipate, and totally derail any plans that they have. We have to plant a superior claim and a superior flag, and this has to move into a phase of demonstration and pass this information.
Mm-hmm. And remember, even the Shaolin monks,
we need you out there.
Those pious people, they knew how to fight and protect themselves. They had weapons that they could use. So you go up there. I say, let's go up there as the priests that you are, but always know what to do when the time comes. And you're going to have to go from the monk, and you have to become Pai Mei.
Oh, again, that's the role that our brother Professor Griff provides out in the community, and he'll inform you that we've gone, on many occasions with a security force as well.
Beautiful.
But again, and this is what I'm talking about, like the removal of it. Faith over fear. And because we put that concept so much intertwined with religion, we throw babies out with bathwater. And it's like, what have we done as a community to see whether this information works for you in terms of your cosmic force field? What have we thrown ourselves against? What lions then that we willfully put ourselves in? That's what the ones we find ourselves in. Which one have you walked in, and what have you walked out with, and where's the evidence of it? That's what this community needs in terms of leadership going up against what we're looking at, because they militarized the Klan. We ain't got to worry about what's coming from South Africa. That man just sat up there and told the police, you could do whatever you want with melanated people. And not only am I going to make sure that you get off, but I'm going to fund your defense, right? And I'm going to make sure that if a judge comes for you, we're going to lock them up and make an example out of them. And then Pete Heggeth is a Christian Nationalist Alliance whose pastor is Doug Wilson. So we're not telling one another who these people are. Like, who's the players? Who's the president's men? They militarized the military, brought the Klan in, told them we kicking melanated people out with all of these grooming standards. So it's like, I think that South Africans are a distraction. We really should be concerned with the fact that the police have been paramilitarized and the military has been given an okay to say, look, you are now Christian nationalist crusaders. And they saying that their culture war is the war that they want to fight here domestically.
Yeah, I know, but you have to be everything you said right there is on point, but everything you're saying, what they're doing is indicative of the highest form of desperation. And when people get desperate, my brother, everything that we represent is to bring that out. When you put in a medicinal material, the first thing that comes to the surface is the symptom. And the symptom is showing you that you're healing the body. What you're doing and what we've been doing and what our elders were doing have been actually giving the medicinal information to our young people. And now that the medicine has has actually gone into the social consciousness, it is bringing out the worst. That's the first thing that happens when you go on a fast. The first thing that happens, your body goes through all kinds of hell. You start feeling all kinds of eruptions. You may have diarrhea. You may have all kinds of mucus coming out. Well, these are these crazy Klansmen, these crazy South Africans. Who you think they're going to recruit into the police force?
Oh, yeah.
Because they don't have a job when they come over here. So the first thing they're going to do is militarize them. and put them right
Absolutely.
in the black community because they have that superior information knowledge. And I'm waiting for these young brothers to start turning their guns on the real enemy and not on each other. And that's what they fear. And that's going to have to happen. I mean, what we do spiritually is what's going to manifest physically.
That part.
Right. And so what we're doing spiritually is we are cleansing a deeply seated, deeply rooted evil
Yes.
that's going to come out in the behavior of the one manifesting that evil. And we have to be prepared physically because we have family, we have children, we have wives, we have women that we have to protect. And we cannot just tell them, no, we're just going to do what Martin Luther King did. No, we ain't going to do that. That particular science and that particular experiment, gone. You step to us, we're going to step to you.
For sure.
And now we're all coming back to Malcolm. We're all coming back to Malcolm,
Yeah.
and to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And so we have to see that. We have to see that we have to be balanced in our approach to the enemy. And what you're doing is perfect. Everything you all are doing to bring the spiritual energy up is what's cleansing the palate for the new paradigm.
Let me get to this next question. Somebody wants to know, what are your thoughts on the Burkina Faso Russia collaboration?
Yeah, they must have just come in. I'm a little leery about it. I mean, I like what I hear and see. The Russians, essentially, Putin, I don't know whether it was a strategy, but he was the one who exposed the Coptic, the icons, the black icons, and said that most of the Coptic Church, which is the antithesis of the Vatican. The Vatican hates the Eastern Orthodox.
Yes.
They hate them.
Yeah, beef with them.
And so, yeah, and that's why if you looked at what was going on, they hated the Serbs because it was the I forgot who it was, the other ones that actually were because the Serbs were Eastern Orthodox.
Eastern Orthodox.
Right, and the ones that were the Nazis,
Croatians, right?
The Croatians, they were the ones that were fed by the Nazis and were killing off the Serbs.
Right, like the Ukrainians are now.
Right. So you have to see that. When Putin put that out, I was saying, they welcomed. What's the name of the singer with the deep voice? The black singer who went to Russia and was accepted. And we're finding out Robeson.
Robeson.
The Russians love them some Robeson. And how about when you're dealing with Putin or Pushkin? When he's the one who formulated the Russian language for them.
Yes.
They know that, that's the part that's making me, okay, I can see him being helped, Putin being helped, but that's a strategy for me. And I hope for what I'm looking at, and for those of you, Sister Betty, that everything that's being done is against the West, not for only what we can get from Traore. So I heard that Traore made a very good deal with Russia, and they didn't try to pimp him for his gold. And he took the 3 or 4 billion and turned it into 18 billion, paid off all debts to the IMF and to the World Bank, and then bought all the machinery with that gold from Russia and from China. The only thing I worry about mostly is China, because I don't see 400,000 Russians going in there to try to marry up the Africans. I'm watching the Chinese because they're talking about, guess where we came from? Remember they came that whole thing when the Chinese were talking about the doctors. We looked at our, the Y chromosome. We found out that we're Africans. Yeah. Okay. Now what?
That was the precursor.
Yep. That was the one to soften us to say, oh, come on in. No.
Exactly. So be careful when we start seeing vegan restaurants popping up in Africa. Free chicken wings and a fried rice.
We talk. Who's that thing with the fried rice? Who's that? Who's that?
Oh, some rapper, man.
Rapper, right?
Let me get to this next question. what do y'all think about the entertainers starting to speak out about their American Indian heritage?
Think it's
Like
great.
who?
You know, I just seen a rapper, and y'all wouldn't even think he would like a ratchet rapper from Memphis named Duke Deuce, and he put up a video on Instagram talking about his showing his grandmother and talking about his American,
Choctaws
yeah, exactly, all of that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
damn, Duke, I said,
Yeah, I
Duke Deuce is even on this vibe right here.
I love it.
It's
I
cool.
love it.
Wow.
I love it when these young brothers is coming. That's what I'm telling you. There's a swell of what we've been putting out there.
Kevin
The work
Gates.
that we did. It's finally coming to bear, man. You know, all the work that we put out there, we're hearing it in the young people, and they don't give a flying you know what. Who knows it? And we need that kind of unabashed energy. You remember, guys, when we were younger, we didn't care what it is. We were going all blasting. And every
Right.
time I try to, go back to some of my tapes, and my poor wife has to listen to some of the very, colorful words that would come out of my mouth when I was explaining things. It's like, oh, I don't think that I'm going to expose my great grands to this right now.
Right.
So, but I think that that's a wonderful thing. If they're actually going into the Chickasaw, the Yamasi, the Yamakra, and they're getting into these peoples who were the originals, not these people that you see looking like the Mongolians or these $5 Indians. No, no.
Somebody wants to know. Diane wants to know, where should we live?
Whoa, that's going to be a big one. We got a teeming volcano out there that they can trigger with a DEW there in Wyoming. It's sitting on an earth-ending volcano out there in that park. I don't want to mention it because I don't want to get anybody all upset. And we have a fault line running down, I would say, by Tennessee and Oklahoma. A vicious fault line that can actually split the United States. So we have to really go into, as Brother Blue was speaking about, getting into our spiritual self and understand how the spin of the orientation, we have to match where the earth is taking us now. And that means we have to use the right foods, to combine the right water that we drink. And I recommend the hydrogenated water. I recommend certain materials that they have out there that are very good as far as that I'm taking. And if you want to know anything more about it, please call the 800 number 847-1291. We have some very powerful materials that we've discovered that would definitely help you in getting your internal atomic structure to match the change in the environment, the atomic structure in the environment, so that you could transcend along with it and not resist what's happening. Because it's the ones who are taking in foods that resist that are going to suffer the most. So where you live first within the body. That's where you live. Where you reside or where you are domiciled, that's what you're asking actually.
Right.
Technically and legally, you're asking where should we be domiciled? Well, there are places that actually in Africa that we need to be actually thinking about going back to, and the Burkina Faso and Mali and these areas, they're preparing the way for us to either go there or to be able to reclaim the land here. And I would be very hard to say because they have a plan to split the United States and to connect Mexico to Canada. And they're getting ready to rewild the central part of the United States. And they're going to import lions and elephants and the whole 9 yards. And they're going to be driving a lot of the whites that you see that are in the Middle American area. And a highway, a gigantic, like 10-lane highway is being planned. I saw the plans to go from Mexico all the way up through Canada and across to Alaska. So it's very difficult to say that right now, but just prepare yourself.
Yeah,
All
I think
right.
the best part of,
Okay,
the best
Griff.
part of that
Yeah, my brother.
answer, best part of that answer is you have to be comfortable in the skin that you're in. Doc said it. You're living this. You're living in your body. You understand what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Regardless of wherever your circumstances take you, and you might end up, we
Mhm.
have to be able to be flexible. You understand what I'm saying? And have a foundation and be grounded to the point where we can survive anywhere because we have. There's not one place on this earth that our footprints, the black footprint, haven't been.
Yeah,
Because we've demonstrated we can live anywhere. Now, where would
indeed.
you like to live?
Right.
You hit it. You hit it. Very good. Excellent.
Next question. How do you all feel about the increase of solar activity affecting our DNA and the planet?
That's a good one. The sun is not a ball of fire. It's an irradiator. It's broadcast from the fourth and fifth dimension. So is the moon. Nobody ever got into the moon. The moon is made of plasma. So nobody can land on it. So what we're going to look at is a higher resonance of positive positronic energy coming out of the sun. You're going to see the 21st of June, a portal will open up. Look for a lot of sun activity around the 21st, because that's when a portal opens up, and those who travel back and forth through the sun as at Stargate, you're going to see a lot of activity. There'll be a lot of UFO activity at that time, because the sun is what transports us between different domes. And it opens up, and what they say as the ejector that we see, I forgot what they call that when the sun gives off an ejector. That's them traveling back and forth through the plasma field. So we just know that the sun is a programmer for consciousness. It gives the melanin the charge necessary so that it operates at night. It shuts down in the day. The pineal shuts down in the day, but activates at night. So it's best that you get as much. If you are dark and you've been blessed with a lot of melanin, get out in the sun, because the new sun is going to come. The old sun has been compromised. The Chinese have been trying to replace it, because they know that this sun was dying and it was not really the sun for their skin. So they were creating a whole second sun. I did that. I showed that in my last webinar. And this new sun that they had, where they see these sun dogs, people say, well, there's 2 or 3 suns. Well, that's Nibiru. No, that's the sun's reflection bouncing off the dome. And a lot of people still don't believe we're under a dome. And I want you to expand your mind, because for you to actually have an atmosphere, you have to isolate yourself from what they say the space is, which is a vacuum. So there's no such thing as a vacuum existing immediately against a gaseous envelope. So if you have a vacuum that sucks everything out into outer space, how in the hell do you actually have an atmosphere? You don't. So the atmosphere is contained within, and I said this 25 years ago, we are under a compressed hydrogen dome. It's the waters above, which is what you see in the stars, and the waters below, which is us and the earth. So there's water underneath us as well, because the deeper you go in the earth, you're going to find oceans. And that's what Gaddafi found. He found the freshest water that was over 10 million years ago. And he essentially regreened an entire desert. And he was going to show everybody and have that become an estuary that went down from the south to the north, because Africa was actually flipped.
Right.
So I mean, I don't know how to say it any further or any deeper than that. We have a lot of work to do to prepare people. The sun is the activator. It is the electrical charge. The moon is the magnetic charge. And they're both made out of plasma. And they are spinning above us. We are not spinning around them. And I use this, and I'll step off the stage and listen to me. This is for the brothers and sisters out there. If we are spinning at 1,025 miles an hour from west to east, and we go up in an airplane and we're going from New York to California, why does it take 5 hours if below us we're going at 1,000 miles an hour and above us we're going at 500 miles an hour? It should only take us 3 to 5 minutes. See, you got to get out of the hypnotic state that they got you in. Let's go to reverse. You're taking off from California. The earth is spinning under you, ahead of you at 1,000 miles an hour, and you're going at 500 miles an hour. How the hell do you land? Start thinking simply, because they've complicated it. And don't listen to that jackass, Neil deGrasse Tyson. Stay away from him. He's full of it. He's an agent. He's an agent of disinformation. So think of the simpler things. There's over 200 proofs that we are not on a spinning ball of water. So once we get that out of our heads, that is such, ever since they took the Copernicans, even Copernicus said, I don't want nobody to associate me with this globe Earth. He didn't want that. And they assassinated him and buried him in an unmarked grave in Poland. So first thing you got to do is get out your mind that we are running through space at 1,000 miles an hour, and the whole Earth is spinning around the sun at 56 or 65,000 miles an hour. Do you feel anything like that? It's insane and asinine. Get that out of your head, and everything else will begin to make sense.
All right. We're going to do 2 more questions before we get out of here. It's about to hit the 2-hour mark. It's getting late. Let's get a question from Alchemy Avenue. This is the brother Dave. Since we are entering in a new space in the physical and vibrationally, what's the best way to not let the old programming affect you?
Wow. Professor?
I think, like I said early on, the idea of getting rid of the programming, like Doc just said, if we came out of the programming, at least we can grasp the concept of putting some things in place in order to kind of unlearn, in order to learn. In order to grasp any of the concepts that Blue Pill has given us, I can't approach what he's saying with the old mind, because all I'm going to do is rely on the old mind. You understand what I'm saying? I have to be given those tools in order to even proceed. I'm sitting here and I'm listening to these 4 brothers build. I'm grasping, I'm writing notes. Even where I'm at, I'm writing notes. Now, when I go back to look at these notes, I can't approach it with this mind, brother Rich. I got to approach it with a different mindset. I got to be able to almost operate in the space that they're giving me. Not the space I'm operating in now. I got to come up out of that particular space, vibrationally speaking.
Yes.
Whether I do something basic, change the environment in which I'm studying, light some incense, change the lighting. No, I'm dead serious. Like, we have to be able to change it vibrationally, because if we talk about operating at this new space in the physical vibration he's talking about, right? What's the best way to let the old programming affect you or not affect you? Pardon me. Right. So if the old programming is affecting you and we know how it's affecting us, then let's change the dynamic of the old program.
Amen. And
I said that's a reference point. That's a starting point. That's the black dot. When you take that pen and you put it on the paper to write your signature, it always starts with the black dot.
Yeah, it is. Thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take over there, Rich. Brother Blue?
Yes, brother. So the brother is asking about remaining in a particular frequency once he shifts to that frequency. Yeah, I mean, you don't go back. With us, we were left with no choice. We burned the boats. We were 600 feet out in the ocean, and we burned the boats. You know what I mean? And that kind of proverbially left us no choice. We could not go back. We couldn't look back. And that's the pioneer attitude right? We embarked on something that people had not yet done. You know, Doc put the order out, and this is a dope panel because it was like Professor Griff put the clarion call out in hip hop in the late 80s, early 90s.
Mm.
Hip hop kind of went to sleep because of the shiny suit era. Doc put the call out. I was at a lecture of his in 2001, and then the rest is history. You know, I started knocking on doors and you know, pulling up windows and putting speakers in them. And, you know, we just informed the world that a new consciousness was here.
Right.
And I had to burn the boat to not go back to that old world to even flirt with it because I knew the addictive nature of it. And I also read mad stories about, you know, almost like Carlito Benny Blanco, that last day on that last move, when you
Wow.
pivot and deviate, that's when you
Yeah.
get clipped and the matrix will catch you. In those momentary times that you think that you can trick the matrix, you got to be one step ahead and you can't look back, and you got to keep the concept that your old self is always on your heels. So if you slow up or you look back, you might have a collision, and there's no telling who's going to win that wrestle between you and your devil.
Yeah. Because you are both.
'Cause you are both.
Indeed.
And they both want to get fed.
Oh yeah, big time. Rich, he said something that triggered something.
Mhm.
We're trapped. Our thought process becomes our comfort zone, and we tend to bring it back when we're challenged. We tend to use it as the cushion we need to fall back on. And people like ourselves, we test whatever's new. We search into it. We don't close our minds to it. We search into it and we see the validity of it after it becomes empirical. Because it can't be just information, it has to be empirical. We have to experience it. So the first thing we teach at our university is how to do an inventory of the thought process that has us stagnating.
Right.
And when we deal with that, understand the science of thought, we understand that thought is time. There are five elements. There's fire, air, water, and earth. But people say ether. It's not ether. The fifth element is time. And people don't understand that time is an element. And that thought, essentially, just like the fire you see is the flame, the water, we see air, and earth are represented as the sight, sound, smell, and taste, which is the fourth primary elements. That fifth element, that is ether, is the domain of thought. That's where thought becomes manifest. So thought and time are necessary for the domain of the third density to exist. So when you understand time and you understand your thoughts, you understand how you become trapped in time. And what brother professor was saying is that he can't bring that time
Right.
with him. And that time has to die. It has to be buried, or it doesn't have to be resisted. It just has to fade away like the dew in the morning sun. And then you move forward.
Right.
And from that point forward, when you have done an inventory of your thoughts to see what is resisting, what you're resistant to, and you remove that resistance, then the universe feeds you of an abundance of information.
Indeed, indeed. Shout out to Dave. Thanks for asking that question. Let's get to I think this is a question only. I mean, I don't even know how to put it. What's your thoughts on the peptide called epitalin? Do you know what that is, Doc?
Epitalium, yeah, I saw it someplace. It's an activant. It agitates, or it allows for the brain it goes into, I think that it's connected to an hallucinogen. Am I right? I don't remember what it is. Maybe Max, you can help me out with that. Epi meaning the top. Talon is a claw. So if you're talking about epitalon, I saw that. I can't remember. I'm sorry, brother. I wish I could remember it, but it's back there somewhere.
Yeah. No. Let's get to one last question. Not that. Let's do one more question. I'm trying to see what y'all got going on. Yeah, somebody asked if we talk about the plantation burning. Yeah, they talked about that already. You gotta rewind the video, but yeah, we did touch on that.
Now, see that proof. In order for us to move forward, we can't go back to.
Can't go back. Burn them bridges. That's the boat that you burned, brother. There's the boat you was talking about, brother.
We'll burn that one already.
There's that boat you was talking about, Blue.
I'm trying to get to the question. I see a lot of comments here. I don't know. Let me see. I just want to give y'all an opportunity. Let me see. Well, I don't see any more questions. I guess I'll end it. I want to give y'all the opportunity to wrap up the show. Well, let me ask this. Doc talked about this before.
Don't force the issue, Rich.
No, I do want to ask this. Because this is something I'm very much involved in. How do we take the music back, Doc? And Doc's a music man as well. So Griff is a music man. Blue. Yeah. I mean, we the Rhythm Nation. So everybody, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
How do we take the music back, y'all?
Well,
I'm sorry.
No.
Elder, no. Make it happen.
Well, the first thing first, we have to reintroduce spirit catchers into the children. The spirit catcher is an instrument. The instrument is something that challenges the spirit. It has something to say. It has beautiful words and music tones to give to us, but you have to go through the taming of the inner person. Yeah, your fingers get numb, they get sore, they get cut up, until you are free of the instrument and you freed the instrument from you. And that's when that particular the beauty of the music comes through, when the instrument yields and surrenders to you. All before that, it fights you. So what we have to do is to introduce the challenge of a spirit catcher. Like, they took that out of the schools. They did that for a reason when they removed it from the schools where our children were, and they put it up in the schools where their children were, so that they can study and keep their own classical music, which is our classical music that they wanted to get rid of, which was their jazz. So now you're seeing only white folks dealing with jazz. So what you have to do is to reintroduce the piano, which is an African instrument, the guitar and the banjo, African instrument, the drum, definitely African instrument, or at least an indigenous instrument. We have to put that back into our children, because that's the way we used to channel that energy that they had, that angst that youth has. We would teach them to find that inner spirit, and we have to reintroduce those so that we could get those tones. Like, for me, I know Earth, Wind, and Fire. They were my good friends at that point, and let's get that type of music back. And for those of you who want to do the hip hop, not rap, but the hip hop, then definitely go back to Public Enemy, because you all had some serious grooves, and you all had something to say on that groove. You see, today everybody's just talking about, how much bling and how wet their wop is and all that kind of nonsense. Nah, if you want to do hip hop, do the hip hop that essentially was the one that taught and didn't catch us fighting one another over territories and who was this and who was that, East Coast, West Coast. They set that up to destroy that. So as far as music is concerned, get back to teaching the children through the introduction of the spirit catcher. I'm sorry, Professor.
Yeah.
Brother Rich, right now I'm in the middle of two projects, and this is not a shameless plug. I'm about to release my project from my band, the Soul Om Collective, and the reason why I call it the Soul Om Collective is because we have to put the soul back in the Om. There is the distinct difference between the frequency and the vibration in which we connect with the universe. So when we Om, it's different from the other people oming. You understand what I'm saying? We have a whole different vibe. Their Om lost their soul. So it led me, and Doc is not going to remember this. I see the gray in his beard, but he's not going to remember the conversations that I had in his home
Oh,
When I visited his home
yes,
and I saw the black blankets over the TV,
yes,
and I was curious as hell, but I
yeah.
was too afraid and too ashamed to ask, why do you cover your TV up? But that joint, I want to use other language, but that ish stayed on my mind. Like, and I'm too ashamed to even say it now. I felt like, damn, I should know. Then I
Yeah.
started studying the black mirror, the black screen, and then Blue Pill said something in with his science dealing with the 4 and the 44 and the 4. So I said to myself, okay, when I do this thing with this music, I'm gonna have to incorporate all these lessons from all of these individuals I'm meeting on my journey.
Indeed.
You
Indeed.
understand what I'm saying? So I came up with the soul ohm because we have to put the soul back in the ohm.
Put the melanin back in it.
Exactly. So when we chant, the chanting is not just chanting. We're calling, we're moving the netters.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And the ether is that web that connects everything to everything.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So with all of that said, I'm putting all of this in music at the same time, trying to reinvent myself and do exactly what Doc just said. And someone said it in the comment section in the chat. Pick up the instrument. I decided I had to speak through this instrument here.
Mhm.
And this instrument is called the Udu.
Udu, yes.
So I started playing it. I ain't know a damn thing about it. So I started studying the history. It led me to Nigeria. I started studying the
You can do it. Yes.
the women in Nigeria pouring water out of the Udu.
Udu, yes. Mm-hmm. After they charge it.
Exactly. That's where I was going. So they charged it and gave it that vibratory frequency that resonated with me.
Yeah.
It reminded me, I know this is a long story, but it reminded me of my mama singing, putting me on the left side of her breast, holding me this way. So I felt the heartbeat. And that joint sounded like boom.
Yes.
Beautiful, beautiful.
And that resonated with me. So I said it led me to study the birthing song from the Himba tribe of Namibia.
Yeah. Yeah.
So them women, the child decides to come to birth when the child is needed on the earth.
Right.
So the child teaches the song to the mother teaches the song to the husband.
Yeah.
And that song stays with that child for the duration of that child's life. So every important moment in that child's life, that song is sung.
Come on. And when mama is preparing food, she sings.
Exactly. So she goes and sits under a tree and waits for the tune, the frequency, the vibration, the notes to hit her. Do you understand what I'm saying? Now the child is being formed with the song.
Yeah.
So I asked the question, what is your favorite song? That's the song that's moving us through this life. So I started writing about the Himba tribe. I started writing about with the birthing song. You understand? So I started asking people, Blue Pill, what's your birthing song? What is that song that you cannot get rid of if you wanted to? What is that song? You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm asking people, I'm having conversations about it because now I'm putting the book together and I'm saying, okay, here I am up 2, 3 in the morning, going to bed for a couple hours and waking back up because I can't sleep.
You're not supposed to at that time.
And I said to myself, what do I call the book? I said, I'm going to just call it The Birth.
Yes. Birthing.
The song
The birthing.
Exactly.
Yes, the birthing.
I'm not gonna go too far into that. We'll talk about it at another time. I know we're about to close out, but yeah. So the Soul Ohm, which is the Ohm of Soul, the album and the book, The Birth. It's just something I have to gift to the world because I'm sure when I explain it to people, like I see Doc and Blue Pill's body moving and twitching, like, yep, that's it right there. You understand what I'm saying? It's a beautiful thing.
Hey, listen, we can't wait. We can't wait. I definitely got to hear this. Definitely. You got to let us know, man. It's got to be like a red carpet type of thing, a digital red carpet.
Right.
You know?
So I think, the essence of what both of you brothers amazingly said and the way that this is coming full circle, Ohm is the original expression of sound, right? And we know that sound denotes form. So we have not yet heard, right? Just the same thing about us having a template in our minds of what a melanated Godhead looks like. You know, our people haven't even fought for templated Black Jesus to be the standard. Just for the mental psychosis of the conversation to make sense, they got to have a backboard to bounce these ideas off of. So we don't even hear a deep gruntal melanated tone expressing Om. When we think about Om, we hear them. And Om is the very thing, the sound of the universe that brings expression.
Exactly.
So I think that those who specifically claim to be more primal, they should be the ones that are expressing more the guttural tones. And that tonality also should denote form, right? And just what you were saying, Doc, if we put instruments back in the hands of children, children will make the new sounds and the new songs and the new music. I
Yeah.
think that we all have new music in us. And as melanin receptors, the new music is coming from the universe, from the universe, in the form of frequency. I be sitting right next to Rich when he gets the downloads, radio heavy, picking up on the receiver. So we know that the new sound is in the atmosphere. Like you said, Rich, something's in the air. Yeah, and it's a new sound as well. Some people are doing better with tapping in and bringing it down, and others need a little bit more training. But I feel that more instrumentation that we pick up, the more that we embrace the bridge that has been built to the blues era by this movie coming out and people exploring a renewed interest in the roots of melanated music, right? And seeing hip hop as a total expression of what initiated by way of blues coming into bebop and just the whole American expression of what we have done over here with sound, right? Let's utilize, let's reclaim sound, let's reacclimate, you know, especially in, like you said, in those spiritual places, the ohms, the chants, you know what I'm saying? We got to put our tones on these ohms and bring it back home.
Yeah, that sound that you put together, the Om is the background tapestry from the unknowable to the unknown, and then the unknown to the known. And like you were saying, sound is the conduit for light. And people don't understand that once you hear something, some music just moves you emotionally. Well, it's the emotional body that essentially inspires us. That's why our emotional body, which is our side, the person, the woman, who's supposed to be helping us to know our emotions, because we men, we could put that bad boy aside and go clinically to the left and not have to deal with that. But she's there to actually help us to manage it once she comes into control of her own. But sound is the conduit. That is the medium upon which light manifests after it what you call it dials down. In other words, it goes from a higher frequency where you're dealing with a photonic energy, and then it begins to slow its circular motions. The spin orientation slows until it becomes more dense. So the sound, essentially, what they talk in the beginning was the word. They're not kidding. In the beginning was the word, is the WORD, is the fire, air, water, and earth made flesh, which is why they say that in the beginning was the word, and the word was with sound, and that's you're talking God, and the word was with God, and the word was God. So yes, that Most High is broadcasting itself. Most High is a child. It's an infant. It's an unknowable force that gives us its presence through what we search for in the unknown. And the unknown is what we search for, which is that aspect of ourselves that connects us to the unknowable. And so, yes, our sounds have to uplift us. That's why they took R&B and soul and put it in the church, because they know they could trap it in there. It used to go right across I mean, we used to, ain't no stopping us now. They had to shut that down real quick. They had to shut it down. So I will say to you all, man, whatever you young people are doing, because you're young, I'm in my mid-70s right now, and I'm about, there's more years behind me than there is in front of me. I done passed everything off to you guys, and you all are doing an incredible job, which is why I don't really come out anymore, because y'all are already doing everything that I would need to have to do. And you kids are doing a beautiful job. I can call y'all kids anyway.
Doc, sometimes coming out is all you need to do. Sometimes that within itself, the reaffirming of just seeing what a life long lived towards victory looks like, we need that template in order for us to go further and go farther. So, you're physically missed in the community. We love being in your presence, and you always bring a sense of community with you. Community comes out, and we commensurate and we communicate, and everyone leaves better than they arrived. So your presence is very much needed, if nothing else, but just to be seen.
I love all you brothers, man. And Rich, man, one day we're all going to get together. I'm going to be coming out. I know that my wife keeps saying, why are you holding off? It's really for her because of what she went through health-wise and
Yes.
came back from the dead, literally. And so I'm a little bit leery about leaving too far from her. But Rich, I promise you this. We will all get together. And that's for you, Professor, to you, Blue. We're going to get together. We're going to break bread together soon and very soon. I'll just have to say.
Blue, Griff just reminded me, for the Stone Mountain trip on June 28th, we need some drum players going up the mountain, man. If you could get some drum players, Blue, that'd be dope.
Absolutely, I can. And Doc, we could get in a 16 passenger and come down to see you as well.
Well, if you look at my space, it's like a little matchbox. I'd love to have you all in here, but
site somewhere, not pull up on your spot, but somewhere right in your town in the near vicinity.
Yeah, I'm I'm middle of Florida. I'm in a place. I don't want to say it out loud, so nobody knows where I'm at. But I'm in mid-range Florida, somewhere around Orlando.
Orlando, right? There's a lot of meeting spaces in Orlando, beautiful ones like that, and we could link up.
Yeah, it sounds like a plan.
Do that.
Let's table that, and I'll let y'all know.
Yes, sir.
Because I want to treat you all. You all have been so good to me. I'm working on being able to treat you, brothers and sisters, for everything that you all have helped me to do.
I want everybody to leave their contact information so that people can holler at y'all, man. Please leave your contact info or anything you got coming up.
Well, people can contact me. Hold on, once again, I'm sorry.
No.
I'll be ready.
No. I was gonna say I pointed at you. I was pointing at you.
Brother Rich, no, I'll be ready to fire off. Man.
Go right ahead, brother. Go right ahead.
As soon as they look different, I'm drawing, man. I'm like, come on.
No problem, brother.
But anyway, King Simon reminded me my band, we're performing tomorrow at the Malcolm X Festival in Atlanta.
Excellent.
Great.
Yeah, tomorrow at 4:00. So I contacted my dad, who's passed on now. He's an ancestor, and I told him send me some energy so he can keep the rain up there just for a minute, maybe 4 to 4:30. I'm good. Anyway,
you hear that, Dad? You hear that, Pops?
My father was a Blackfoot Native American. My father was jet black, dark as this shirt, man, with straight hair.
Wow.
Look at the picture of my dad. Sometimes I'm like, man, if I could only have been with you for a minute for you to pass that information on where we're from. You understand?
Yeah.
But anyway, so just Professor Griff online, of course. My website is www.warriorsinnergarden. That's warriorsinnergarden.org. Warriorsinnergarden.org. My phone number is 678-557-2919. Please look out for the book, The Birth, and my album, The Ohm of Soul by the Soul Ohm Collective. Brother Rich, I really appreciate you, bro, having me on with these two giants right here. Give thanks, man.
Indeed.
Thank you. Yes, I'm at Blue Pillar 44, BLUEPILLAR 44. That's across networks, Instagram, X, whatever the rest of them. And Blue Pillar 44 at gmail.com. If you have any correspondence that you need to send my way, we can do it like that. I appreciate you once again. Thank you for having me on this phenomenal panel. And family, meet us on the mountain at the end of June. It's going to be monumental and paradigm shifting. And Pope Pablo is definitely going to be in sermon mode. So,
Indeed.
Let's get it.
And Doc?
Yeah, well, my number to reach us is at 800-847-1291. Again, 800-847-1291. I want to give a little plug, a shout out to my wife. She meets on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8 p.m. If you want more information, she gives one hell of a set of knowledge around health. It's only like a half hour, sometimes 45 minutes. And we deal with a specific product, which is a superfood that helps me to be talking for 12 hours. And I want to be able to introduce you to that and what is going to be necessary for you to do. Not only that, we deal with the exemption. Want to make sure that you understand that. And university, which is for the adults. We have a children's, a online homeschooling. You just go up to ismhomeschool.org, ismhomeschool.org. And for the adults, it's uksnow.org, uksnow.org. And yes, for love offering, go to PayPal. It's Kemet Earth, KEMET Earth, EARTH @gmail.com. If you want to give a love offering, my wife and I will be. I told him. You want to give a love offering to that? It's Kemet Earth, KEMET Earth @gmail.com. That's our PayPal. And Brother Rich, Professor Blue, this has lifted my spirits. So good to know that you all are still.
Yes, brother.
Right. I love it. The longest one, and that's what we're doing. And I know I'm looking back at Dr. Ben, my mentor, Dr. Clark, Dr. Van Sertimer. I'm looking back at every one of them, and I know that they're just grinning like Cheshire cats from their ancestral realm at what it is that you brothers are doing. Brother Rich, one more time, thank you so much for the kind invitation. Family, much love to you all. I embrace you in the ethers. And time for me to go ahead and get my nap. I'm too old to be up here at this time.
Hey, I want to say thank you to everybody for tuning in. We still got almost 3,000 people in the building. Make sure y'all hit up Griff, Dr. Valentine, and Blue Pill with their links. But with that being said, I will be back Monday, family. Monday night, I'll be back. I might get some footage from the Malcolm X Festival this weekend. I know Blue's going to be out there, so I might get some live footage there during the afternoon. Y'all can stay tuned for that. I might try to go see Griff there tomorrow at 4. I'm gonna see, but I definitely would love to see Griff out there. So if you're in the area, let's all try to make it out there.
Griff. Yeah.
See Griff perform tomorrow at 4 o'clock at the Malcolm X Festival. With that being said, everybody have a good night. Peace and blessings, y'all.
Peace and blessings to you all. Much love.
Peace.